Let's just dive right in. You know how in the seemingly endless stream of digital content we scroll through every single day, there are unseen gaps? Just fractions of moments buried in the noise? Well, today's explainer is going to guide us through a terrifying and frankly, reality-bending supernatural mystery that was hiding in exactly one of those gaps. We're breaking down the case of Detective Marcus Reyes, a guy who uncovered a spectral face hidden deep within the static of a modern internet livestream. And look, this isn't just some story about a glitch. It's a meticulously documented descent into pure paranoia, where digital evidence becomes a literal portal for the past to haunt the living. 0.04 seconds. To put that into perspective, that is the exact, impossibly brief window of time that a pale, completely motionless human face appeared in the livestream footage before just vanishing back into the digital static. And no, it wasn't a reflection on the monitor, it definitely wasn't a distortion of the camera lens. It was a clear, distinct face appearing for less time than it takes you to blink. But here is the absolute craziest part. Whoever or whatever was in that frame wasn't just passing through, it was staring directly into the lens. Almost like it knew that someone eventually would slow the footage down to look.
And the stakes of this whole discovery? They're tied to the number 30. Because when the police finally managed to extract that tiny fraction of a second and run an ID on the face staring back at them, they hit a terrifying wall. The man in the livestream had been dead for 30 years. You see, Detective Reyes really thought he'd found the truth when he isolated the image. He thought he was solving a standard modern crime. But instead, he breached a barrier that was never, ever meant to be crossed.
So how do we get here? This entire nightmare kicks off with an anonymous package. Now, Detective Marcus Reyes is a 15-year veteran of the force. He's a man of logic, right? He's reviewed literally thousands of hours of grainy surveillance footage without batting an eye. But 3 days after a guy named Noah Brooks vanishes without a single trace from a locked apartment, like a literal impossible locked room disappearance, Reyes gets a midnight delivery at his precinct. No return address. The whole shebang. Just a package sitting quietly on his desk, waiting to pull him right into the dark.
Inside that package was a hard drive containing the final live stream footage of the night Noah disappeared. But it wasn't just the video file. Oh no, it contained 4,000 completely isolated frames, meticulously broken down second by second. I mean, the sheer obsessive premeditation here is just staggering. Someone out there had already done the agonizing pixel-by-pixel analysis before Reyes even touched it. And whoever it was had combed through thousands of images to find one single terrifying anomaly. They circled it in bright red ink for the detective to find, frame 17. Sitting alone in his office at 2 a.m., Reyes opens the file and, well, he sees the ghost in the machine.
Naturally, Reyes runs this isolated face from frame 17 through the department's facial recognition software. Technically, this shouldn't even work on grainy, decades-old source imagery, but the system locks on within seconds. It returns a definitive match, Walter Higgins. But the true horror is in the status line. Deceased, March 1994. Think about that for a second. Modern facial recognition successfully pulled a ghost out of the digital ether. And the clinical facts leave absolutely no room for ambiguity here. This wasn't a case of mistaken identity or someone faking their own death. Higgins was a television broadcast engineer, a guy intimately familiar with signals, static, and transmissions. He died in 1994 in a catastrophic house fire. And we know it was definitively him because his body was confirmed by dental records. There is zero ambiguity. Walter Higgins burned to death 3 decades ago, which makes his pale, motionless appearance inside a 21st century digital livestream deeply, profoundly unnatural. So, of course, Detective Reyes tries to pull the original 1994 case file on Higgins' death, but he hits a massive wall. The file wasn't just missing or lost to some dusty basement archive, it was a strictly sealed file. That's a deliberate legal protocol to make sure the facts of the Higgins fire were hidden from general police review. And the name of the person who sealed it? Completely redacted. Somebody went through a whole lot of trouble to bury Walter Higgins. But Reyes, completely driven by this impossible face on his monitor, uses his clearance to pry open the sealed cold case anyway. Recognizing that he's holding something highly volatile, Reyes falls back on strict police procedure to build an airtight control group. Step 1. He copies the terrifying footage onto 3 separate independent hard drives. Step 2, he isolates those drives in 3 totally separate physical locations. And step 3, he secures and heavily logs all access points to the data. He really wants to prove to himself that the evidence is secure. But, as we'll see, standard logic is about to completely fail him. The timeline of this dread escalating is incredibly rapid. 3 days ago, Noah vanishes. At 2 a.m., Reyes sits alone analyzing frame 17, identifying a dead man. But by morning, the investigation totally shatters. Reyes returns to check his perfectly secured, physically isolated drives, and he discovers that the digital files have autonomously altered themselves. Now, they haven't been deleted or corrupted by some random virus. No, they have consciously changed.
Check this out. On drive 1, frame 17 was completely gone, replaced seamlessly by ordinary static. But drive 2 is where the true horror lies. The file was still there, but the spectral face of Walter Higgins had actually moved. It had turned slightly, reacting to being watched. And the security and network logs confirmed the impossible. 0 physical access and 0 digital transfers. No one touched those drives. The anomaly is sentient. It's aware. It is a living thing trapped in dead data.
Which brings us to the absolute climax of this nightmare. It's 11:47 p.m. Reyes is back at his desk, overwhelmed by the suffocating feeling that every witness in this case had described to him. The sensation of being watched by something that shouldn't be able to look back. At exactly 11:47, his phone rings. Unknown number. He answers, and at first the line is just filled with this thick, heavy static. But then, pushing through the white noise, comes a voice. It's slow, it's broken, and it sounds exactly like audio being dragged off a decaying 30-year-old magnetic tape.
The voice on the other end of the line delivers a single, chilling message. You weren't supposed to find frame 17. I mean, just sit with that for a second. The entity, this malevolent connection between a man who burned alive in 1994 and a detective in the present day, is reaching out through the telecommunications network. It's enforcing its own boundaries. And immediately after delivering that impossible threat, the line just goes completely dead. Reyes slowly lowers the phone. The room is dead silent. He turns his head to look back at his computer monitor, where the original Livestream file is still open, and he sees this, frame 18. The impossibility hasn't just altered itself, it has actually spread. The anomaly is moving forward in time, stepping from one frame to the very next, completely breaking the laws of physics and digital reality. And what he sees in frame 18 is the ultimate, terrifying conclusion of this whole nightmare. The face of Walter Higgins, the broadcast engineer who has been dead for 30 years, is no longer just staring blankly into the camera. It has shifted its gaze entirely. It is looking directly through the screen, directly at Detective Marcus Reyes. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I'll leave you with this final, unsettling thought to ponder the next time you pause a video and catch a flicker in the static. We spend so much time analyzing the digital artifacts left behind in our world, but what happens when the dead look back?